Now, just really quickly, I think because Bitcoin is really at a fine point right now and going to do something one way or the other, I thought I'd just really quickly go through the list of coins and tokens that I think are your best bet right now, that follow Bitcoin and that have a chance of giving you some really decent gains. Bitcoin, of course, is what we follow. So if you're holding Bitcoin, that's great. But the other ones that we're looking at, and then what I'll do is I'll come back to this week chart on Bitcoin, and we will, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'll show you some lines to be concentrating on. So next one that I thought was a good one is Digix DAO. I'm not going to go through. I'm not going to break down into the days and the 4 hours for each one. I'm just going to say these are the ones that I think are good subjects for making some profits. And you can, if you've been watching my videos, you kind of know how I set lines up, support, resistance, and trend lines, so you can make your own judgment call on these. You can break them down to the day and the 4 hour and make your own judgments call. But I think Digix DAO is a good one. I've got 10 or 11 of them here. And then, of course, Ethereum is a good one. And you can see actually on the weekly here, it has come up and just hit the 200 moving average, which is just starting to show here on the weekly chart. So, and that's what I mean by it's at a decision point. And you'll understand what I'm saying there when we look at the Bitcoin. Then H-bar is a really good one. It's fairly new, so there's not much to look on the weekly, but you'll see it. I will go back to the day chart on this one just to show you. So it's quite thin, but if you pull it out, so we can see that it's basically following the Bitcoin movement and has some strong moves here and still on an uptrend and well above the 200 moving average. It did drop below the 50, so that's something to watch. But we're talking long term here, and these are all the ones that I'm showing here are good choices. H-bar, XLM. Oops, we get back to the weekly here, but you can see it's on an uptrend. Back to the weekly here. I'm just doing the weekly to give you a big, huge, broad picture of where things are. XLM will have to break through the 200 at some point, but it's still a good choice. Power, and I got ADA was another choice. Where'd it go here? Here we are. Very powerful, even on the weekly. It's done some really amazing moves here, and it's now testing its well, it was a previous high here that broke through. Now it's testing these highs here. So ADA is an excellent choice. ADA, that's the I forgot the name of it anyway. ADA is the choice. Cardano, that's the name I'm looking for. Link is a good choice. It also is very strong, has been very strong, and it is now testing its previous highs. IOTA is a long time contender, so this is where it went. I did really well in IOTA here. I should have taken out profits, but I didn't. This is back when I didn't really know what I was doing. But so IOTA, and if we just kind of scroll that out to where we get, it has been coming down, but it is at its 50 now, and trying to decide what to or how to break through that. And IOTA traditionally does follow the movements of Bitcoin, not as exact as others, but it's still a good strong contender. It's been around a long time and has some really, really great projects out there. RLC, very good one, and is strong. BAT, the basic attention token, looking really good. And then of course LRC, where are we here? Yeah, loop ring. It's not not a lot of people are following loop ring, but I think it's a good contender. It has been in this down channel for a while. If we just pull it in, but it's broken above these previous highs here, and is now testing these highs here. So I think it's a good contender. So those are the 10 or 11. I guess there was 11 there that I looked at. Choices, my choices that are good, and I believe I'm in every single one of those. Don't believe I'm in loop ring, but it's still a pretty good contender. Now getting back to Bitcoin on the weekly chart. So I'll just scroll this out a little bit to take a look here. And what we're looking at is, as I've said many times before, is all these other coins that we just talked about follow the direction of Bitcoin to greater or lesser degrees. But they do follow Bitcoin. So way back here, two lines I want you to look at is these two trend lines that I drew. This one here and then this one here. And what they do is they create a trend line channel. Okay? And they go way back to these points here. There was 3 or 4 points here that I touched, that I grabbed, and it ended up drawing a channel way out here. And I drew this channel, these trend lines, way back in here somewhere, summer or fall of, that'd be 1, 2, probably around here. No, because I drew this one here. So yeah, around the fall of 2019, or the summer of 2019, so a year ago, I drew these lines. I drew these two lines, I drew this line here, and then I drew a bunch of support and resistance levels. That's what these dotted lines are. So the lines I want you to look at or concentrate on right now, because of where Bitcoin is, are these two lines here, these two trend lines, and these two support and resistance lines here. I'll just take it out even further just to really break it. There you go. So these two lines here, resistance lines, you see how they come up from here, and this gave support right here and here and here, and then of course COVID, boom, broke right through. Interestingly, I already had this line drawn from here, these 3 points, and COVID went right down, right smack dab, hit it, which told me that it did not break below this trend line, which was to me an excellent sign that it was still strong. COVID didn't break it. So, and then it came right back up, broke through this, easily broke through this support and resistance area here, and then moved right back up to where it was up here before COVID happened, right back up to above these trend lines, these two trend lines. And then it hit support or resistance here, broke through that, and kind of broke through this resistance here, but hasn't really held on the weekly or the day. It held a couple days here, but it came back down and basically stayed in this channel. Once it got back up in this area, it stayed in this channel because that's where it should have been. Should COVID never have existed, it probably would have followed this trend line down for a bit, bounced through here, bounced up, hit that, bounced up here like that, and then made a decision somewhere around here. Well, now it's on the top side of this trend line that I drew from this point out to this point. And now it's on the top side of that as well. But the two main ones I want you to watch right now are this trend line here that runs all the way back here, and this other further one out that runs all the way back here. They start at the same point, and I just grabbed, one grabs 3 or 4 points, and the other one I just grabbed from this point to the lowest point up here somewhere, and it created this area. So now you can see on the weekly it's come back and it is touching this area here, this trend line. Excuse me. But it hasn't broken through. It has dipped through below the support, but it hasn't broken through this trend line. So now what we do is the weekly just gives us a huge, long, wide picture. So now what we do is go back to our normal day chart and 4 hours to find out where we're at. So we can see here's these trend lines, this one here and this one here, support and resistance. It is right there at support and flirting with this trend line as also as support. And I said earlier in an earlier video that it's going to come to a point here somewhere. And I believe I said like around July 8 or something like that, it's going to make a move. So we're already July 3rd right here. And then 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere around there, it's going to be forced to make a decision one way or the other. So you're either going to be forced to break through, down, in which case, excuse me, I would look for it to head toward this trend line. And interestingly, you'll see on the day chart that the 200 moving average is bang on that trend line. It's following it exactly. And we know when it breaks, oftentimes when a price breaks below the 50 on the day chart, it breaks below the 50, it will try to meet the 200 before bouncing back up to the 50 again. So that's an interesting scenario there. And again, another access point here, X, where this long trend line comes and meets here. There's a lot of stuff going on in this area. Sorry guys, I should have got a glass of water. Now if you look at, to break it down even to the 4 hour, we can see again, here's those two trend lines, this one here and this one here. And where we are. So again, if it breaks below this trend line, it's going to try and come down to this trend line here. And it would probably be in the next week or so that will happen one way or the other. And if it does break down, it will end up somewhere right close to this X. Very strong convergence point. Because these trend lines all go back, a year or more than a year, actually. And it is also at a support line here. So it's flirting with this support line, trying to break through. But now, so my idea is, just before we move on to anything else here, my idea is that it probably will break to the downside first before it does anything else, simply because everything is down here. The 200 moving averages here, it's been well above it for a while, but going in a channel. So it's going to try and meet that 200, I believe. So I believe it probably will break down to here somewhere. Which, interesting, if you look back here, there's support right there again, right? Right on that. If you go right here, there's support here. Broke a little bit below that, came back up. Then that's that same support area right here. And if you just line your dotted line there, it lines right up with that X, right up here, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if it broke down first. I would not be alarmed. I'm a long-term trader, so I would not be alarmed. I would expect that. And then from there, a strong possibility of it bouncing back up and getting back up into this area here. I know it's a crazy time. It takes patience. Everybody's anxious for Bitcoin to do something, right? It's been doing so well. Well, when you get a huge event, a world event like COVID, it's going to affect all markets, including Bitcoin. So now if it goes the other way, that's where I was going to go with. If it goes the other way, let's zoom out here a little bit. If it goes the other way, then I would expect it to go to the top of this channel anyway. But I would not expect it unless there's some huge real insurgents or buyers, I would not expect it to go much higher than this channel here, because it's just showing that there's a lot of resistance here. It might bounce up above again. But if it did have a strong insurgence of buyers, then it could move to the resistance area of just above 10. Look at yeah, 1040, 1050 thereabouts, and flirt with that for a while. It might turn this into a channel, a big giant channel. But my consensus is I'm leaning towards the idea that it will probably break down to here and try and meet this 200 moving average somewhere in here. And you've got this window being created here, and it's broken into that kind of window where you got the 200 and the 50. And so I think it will probably flirt with this line, and then hopefully the sellers lose, they get exhausted, and then the buyers can take over and push it. So there you go. We'll just leave it in the 4 hour here. And if we, oops. There's lots of room for it to come down. So people are going to be kind of freaking out. 84, possibly, yeah, 84, 85, thereabouts. I wouldn't be surprised for it to go down there first before it comes back up. Okay, so there you go. There's my 2 bits. Friday morning, July 3rd. Clear effects on crypto. And if you like this video, be sure to give me a like down below. And take a look at the other links that I have. If you're interested in earning Bitcoin or Ethereum easily, those are a couple of great options. So have a great day, and happy trading.